But hypothetical doesn't mean you can't reason about it.
Yeah.
Can you reason about a spaghetti monster?
I understand what he's talking about.
James, can you reason about the spaghetti monster?
But that's not what he's talking about.
I'm talking about a hypothetical situation.
You're trying to run away now,
No,
aren't you?
you're
trying to run away.
Listen.
Let's have an honest
His
conversation.
statement was this: you can reason about a hypothetical situation.
Well, certain hypothetical.
Now he used the nuance.
But
well, I'm using this as a certain.
Do you think he doesn't understand?
So what is the point? What is the point?
You?
No, I'm not pretending.
It's so simple. Even my friend.
I'm saying there is no such thing as two different universes. And if you can show me,
change the word universe, then that's not a problem.
Okay, let's call it simulations. Then come on. Let's call it two different simulations. Then what?
All he's talking about is God is capable of copying everything we have here, just putting it somewhere else, and then they'll just run as they were before.
Yeah.
And he's asking, if God did that, and he copied the universe and just separated them and let them run as they were before, under the same laws of physics as were happening before, would the exact same futures happen in both universes?
I don't know.
Are you sure you don't?
Yes, I don't. The reason I'm saying, James, you asked a question. Allow me to answer.
Okay, but you believe in predestination.
Allow me to answer. You asked a question. Okay, don't get all smug on me. And that's the reason I would rather have a conversation with you.
Let's not.
No, but the important thing is this. Both of you are talking about a hypothetical situation which no one has observed. Am I right? And then you're asking me to conclude based on your hypothetical situation.
Are you saying you can never reason about hypothetical?
Have you seen a universe that is other than ours?
No.
So how would you know what would happen in that?
Because
how would you know that even the same laws of physics even apply there?
You're saying that you can't reason about any hypothetical. You're saying it's impossible for me to imagine what my hand would be like if I wasn't holding this water
you can
bottle,
imagine till the cows come home. What difference does it make? To me, it makes no difference at all. Because people, look,
he's pretending that you can't
when you
reason
talk about
hypothetical,
free will, that was your whole purpose, right? Wasn't that your whole purpose?
Irrelevant.
Why not? Because your entire topic was about free will. And I asked you, did anyone force you to come to the park?
But again,
and your answer was laws of physics. Am I right?
But why are you going against what I tried to say about the computers?
Because you're asking me about a hypothetical situation. I said I don't know.
You're backtracking now. Yeah.
I said I don't know. Is that a wrong answer?
Why don't you know?
Because I haven't seen the other universe. That's why.
Okay. Do you believe in predestination?
I believe in predestination.
Okay.
And
so God has already seen the entire future of the universe because He has all knowledge.
Is God subject to time and space?
No, answer my question.
I am, but I'm asking if you understand that. Is God subject to time and space?
Okay. What's the answer?
If you can't answer me, then forget it.
I'm asking you a simple question.
Well, I'm asking you a simple question.
Know the entire future of the universe.
Is God subject to time and space? If God is,
He knows where it's going to go if He answers.
No, I know where you're going, and that's the reason I'm asking you if you understand.
You're exposed as being dishonest.
Oh, exposed.
Pretend that he.
You see why I didn't want to have a discussion with him? Because he's got an agenda.
What do you mean? He literally made a valid point.
Which is what?
Well, he's just going to play dumb.
Which is what? Let's see if you understood that.
I know.
You see what I mean? So anyway, these atheists, agnostic, I don't know where they come from. They want us to imagine hypothetical scenarios, and then when I say I don't know,
you reason about hypothetical
they get
scenarios
a problem
every day of your life.
Really? Like
yes.
what?
Anytime you do.
No, like what? Problem. You said I reason every day.
No, anytime.
Give me an example.
I'm giving you, and you keep on interrupting me. Do you want an example?
Yes.
Anytime you do a physics problem, you ask, what would happen if I lit a match? You aren't lighting a match right now, but you're asking what would happen. That's a hypothetical, and you're pretending like.
Have you ever lit a match?
You're pretending like it never happens, like
James,
you're Al Ghazali or something.
If you're really that intelligent, have you ever lit a match?
Yes.
How is that hypothetical then?
You
see what I mean?
Because I
you see what I mean? This is the situation they're dealing with.
I'm not lighting a match this time, am I?
No wonder he's still an agnostic.
No, you're actually proving my point.
He doesn't actually.
You're proving my point.
No, you're not.
You can use your
lighting a match is not something I have to imagine because I've already done it. Yes, he has lit a match. I have lit a match in the past. It's not hypothetical.
It's hypothetical if you do it if you haven't done it yet right now, this instant.
No, that's still not hypothetical.
You're assuming that every single match lighting is the same.
If you're going based on your experience, it's not hypothetical. If you're saying, have you seen another universe which doesn't even exist, that is hypothetical.
No, but we can specify that universe by saying it follows the same laws of physics as this universe. Yes, because God can do that, can't He?
No, but you said if. That means it's hypothetical.
No, I'm specifying the hypothetical. I'm saying if God copied this universe, put it somewhere else, allowed it to run according to the same laws of physics as before, what would happen according to Islamic theology?
If is a question which you are implying something could. I can answer the way I want, madam, if you don't mind. Do you mind? Well, I've got my own free will. I've got my own free will. I will answer the way I want. I will answer truthfully. The truth is this. To me, the universe means everything that exists. So if God
Look, you're
created...
standing behind this universe
James, why
definition
interrupting
again.
now when I'm answering? You want an answer or not?
You do interrupt me. if
You know
it's
what?
about-
I would rather not answer him because I don't think he wants an answer. If anyone says, if God
Everybody's
copies...
got free will,
if-
like you just said.
I agree with you.
Yeah, well,
Good.
don't tell him
But I don't think he
to
agrees.
copy
Do you agree we have a free will, by the way?
What?
Carry on with your
I'm not
free
sure. I'm agnostic. We don't actually know.
Did you...
But I think
Did you
so.
just say
I
that
think
by...
so.
Did somebody force you to say that?
Well, I had a reason for saying it.
No, but did somebody force you?
I wasn't necessarily forced, but I had a reason for doing
Did somebody
it.
force you? Yes or no? Simple question.
I answered it, and
James,
I answered.
a simple question.
I answered.
You said
didn't
not
I?
necessarily.
Yeah, not necessarily.
Okay, so
we don't know for sure.
So everything that you're doing right now, no one forced you, right?
Not necessarily is what
Which
I
means
said.
not, right?
No, it means
You see why
maybe,
it's-
maybe not.
Ah,
let
so
me
there's-
explain
so there's
the
a possibility
possibilities.
someone forced you.
Yes, let's explain the possibilities. One possibility is that every decision we make, every thought I think, is the result of neurons firing action potentials as a result of the laws of physics and electrical conductivity, which then eventually result in cognition, sensation, and movement in my muscles. That's one possibility, and that might be deterministic, or it might be not deterministic, but it might be like under laws of physics which are probabilistic, which I don't have control over either way.
So
that's
does-
one
does
possibility.
your-
Another possibility is that
Do you
free
have
will
a
exists.
do you have a way to think freely?
Do I have a way to think freely? Potentially. But
So you're not
may-
sure even about that?
Yeah, we
Do
can't
you-
be sure. I mean, it feels that way, but we can't discount the possibility that every thought we're thinking is the result of a previous electrical action potential, which is the nerves firing off according to the laws of
nerves
physics.
firing, the physiology of the brain has nothing to do with you making this decision to say things or to act or whatever you're doing. Yes. Do you believe that you have a soul? Or, sorry, not soul. Do you believe you have consciousness?
I do believe I have consciousness.
Okay.
We must have consciousness.
How do you know that? How do you know
Well,
that?
I'm sensing things right now. Look, I can feel myself.
But how do you know
So
that's your consciousness?
Feeling yourself is consciousness. That's how it's defined. Okay, but you said something.
Wait a minute,
You said something unwarranted earlier. You said earlier that kind of oh, I've almost forgotten what you said. You said something so wrong, but you said that kind of the action potentials of the neurons firing in your brain don't necessarily have anything to do with your thoughts or your movements.
No,
But
I said-
biology doesn't support that.
Wait. I asked you as a- I
Where
asked
else
you as-
does thoughts come
James,
from? That's
that was
the
a
only
question
thing.
to you.
That is the only thing identified
How
by
do you-
biology.
you
That's
said-
the only thing we have empirical evidence to believe in.
So do you have empirical evidence that you have consciousness?
I have empirical evidence I have consciousness. Yes, like
Which
I
is
just
what?
explained.
Which is what?
Like we can sense things. Sensing things is consciousness. That's what it means.
Okay, so a person who is, let's say, in a state where he doesn't feel anything on his skin, does he have consciousness?
Okay, maybe not. If he's thinking things. If
You see what I mean?
If he's
Because there are
thinking-
many
listen to the
conditions.
whole
Wait.
answers. Listen to the
You know,
whole
there are many
answer. If he
conditions
is-
where
if he
people
is
don't
thinking
feel.
things,
In fact, even if
he
you
is
burn the
thinking
skin,
things, then
they
he's still
don't have any
conscious.
sensation. But the thing is, they have consciousness. So
I
James's
was just
definition.
saying
No,
that.
your
I was just
definition.
saying that.
So you want to redefine consciousness?
I never gave a different definition of
No,
consciousness.
you said the
I
person
said that
who
not
feels.
not
If I
necessarily.
feel, that means I have consciousness.
Yes.
Those were your words. Don't
Yes.
backtrack now.
Yes.
So once again,
that is a sufficient condition. It's not a necessary condition.
so what is the necessary
Ne-
condition you have consciousness?
Oh, that's an interesting question. The necessary condition
I hope you give
of
an
having
interesting answer.
Yeah. So in order to have consciousness,
Yes.
you have to have
Carry on. I'm listening.
thoughts, basically.
Thoughts.
Yeah, that's the basic. That's
Where
the
did you
basic
get that
thing.
definition from?
Well, like, how else would you
Do you
define
know?
it?
Do you know any scientist who defines it as such?
Well, like, we can check if we want to.
Well, you are the one who made the statement.
If you want to defer it, then we can check what the definition of consciousness
No,
is
you
now.
are the one who made the statement. So I'm assuming there must be something that you can substantiate from some scientist.
Well, like, I know.
Or was it just speculation, which you usually do?
I know.
when
Like,
you
if
discuss
if
this
it's
topic?
wrong, then correct me. I don't mind.
No, it's not me correcting you. I'm asking you, can you back it up from scientists?
Let's see. Let's check.
Oh, so he doesn't know yet.
So, okay, you're just trying to score points rather than get to the actual issues.
No,
you're
I'm trying to get
dig
at
at.
the actual issues. You
Okay,
already
so
changed your
do you
definition
think
once.
it's important?
The first time I asked you to
he's
define
trying to
consciousness.
score points rather than actually talk about
James,
the issues.
James, let's be fair. The first time when I asked you consciousness, you said the ability
No,
to feel.
listen,
Am I
every
right?
time we talk about
and
something,
then,
you swap to
you
another
want to
topic.
now backtrack on that definition. You want to give another definition. Someone who has thoughts.
But what difference does it make? We're talking about consciousness. Why don't we just check what the definition is?
But
If
you
that's
said you had
talking,
empirical
it's
evidence. So
talking
show me the empirical evidence.
to you. That was about something else earlier.
No,
You see how he
it
jumps
was the same thing.
backwards
You see, now
and
he's
forwards,
stuck.
Backwards and forwards.
You know,
All
there's
you
a
want to
reason.
do
There's
is
a reason
score,
the
like,
scientists
small
call
points.
this the hard problem of consciousness.
What do you actually
The reason he's struggling now and he's actually
assert?
stammering now is because he has realized that it's not an easy question to answer.
It's not academic. What do you actually want to assert?
Academic. You said there is
what do you want to actually want to assert?
I want to assert that what you just said, that you have evidence for empirical evidence for consciousness. I want to substantiate that.
What, me?
Yes, because you're the one who made the statement.
Well, empirical evidence means, I know, basically evidence that you experience.
Yeah.
Obviously, well, I can only talk specifically for myself, but obviously I experience sensation and I experience thought.
So you're telling
me, I'm
so let me get this right. You're telling me that if a born-again Christian experiences Jesus Christ, that is empirical evidence.
No, but that's a different thing from consciousness.
It's the same thing. He said experience.
No, it's not.
He said experience.
No,
Those were your terms.
Because consciousness,
Those were your terms.
consciousness is not defined the same way as the Spirit of Jesus
No one
Christ.
does.
Consciousness is not the same thing as the
Make up
Spirit
your
of
mind.
Jesus Christ.
What is empirical evidence?
I have made up my mind.
What's empirical evidence once again?
Evidence that you experience that is in the real world.
So Christian is right. A Christian
No,
like
he's
me.
not.
My friend, have you felt Jesus in your life?
Yes.
No, but
So
it's different.
he got empirical evidence
No, it's different.
that Jesus.
Did you understand what I said?
I know what's personal.
Yes.
That's, a feeling is personal. I totally agree with you. I'm agreeing with you.
Okay.
A feeling is personal. I agree. Do you agree with that?
So what is the bone of
You don't.
contention?
So you don't think.
You aren't listening to the actual explanation.
James, you're not.
You don't want to hear a full
Are you
answer,
saying?
do you?
Okay.
Do you want to hear a full answer?
So empirical evidence for consciousness. Go on. Full answer.
Okay. So empirical evidence means like evidence that you experience in some respects.
Like
the normal way, listen to the full answer, the normal way that you experience empirical evidence is you have these sense organs like your eyes and like your sense of touch, and you use that to interact with the real world and try and derive information and reason to believe things about the real world. And that would be how you interact with and achieve empirical evidence.
So can you do any of that
how
with your
that
consciousness?
applies to consciousness and experience, how that applies to sensation and consciousness is
Sensation is different to consciousness.
Sensation
is different. There are people who don't have sensation but have consciousness.
Okay, that's true. But anyone who has sensation also has consciousness.
Say again?
Anyone who has sensation also has consciousness.
Yes, that I would agree with, but that still is not empirical evidence for consciousness.
Okay. No, it is because you have direct access to it. You are directly experiencing it. Because what else do you call
Like
it?
him.
If you
He directly experiences it.
not him. Because,
Why not him?
I'll give you the answer. Because
He said it's a personal thing,
not him.
which I agree with.
Okay, listen.
Yeah,
Not
go on.
him, because the difference between the Holy Spirit and consciousness is the Holy Spirit is an outside entity.
How do you know that?
Because it's not.
Do you believe
it's
in the
not
Holy
part of
Spirit?
you.
Do you
No,
believe in
I
that?
don't.
So how can you define it?
What? That's how it's defined in their books.
How is it defined, say again?
No,
Let's see if you know the definition of Holy Spirit. How is it defined?
The Holy Spirit is
Yeah.
not the same thing as just your sense of self or your sense of consciousness or your feelings, your pain, your sensation.
No one said that.
Whereas
There's a straw man argument. No one said that.
Then why are you acting as though they're conflating? You're saying, oh, you can't experience one, but you can experience
Because
the other.
if according to him the Holy Spirit is there, can the Holy Spirit whisper to him?
Have I said anything yet?
Possibly.
You keep asking questions.
And you believe that
never
is
answer any
consciousness.
question.
No, he is having a conscious experience whereby he thinks that the Holy Spirit is speaking to him, which means he is conscious. This is how it's different. The Holy Spirit is something extraneous. It's something external. You can't simply use your internal thoughts to find out whether or not this Holy Spirit exists in the outside world. Whereas consciousness is something internal to you, so you can use your own feelings and sensations to find out about your internal world, which is what consciousness is. You have direct experience of it. That's why the difference is.
Look here, nobody uses experiences which are anecdotal, yes, to define something that is empirical. As a person who studies science, you should know this of all the people.
No, it's
anecdotal.
No, you're switching your definition.
No, I'm not.
Yes,
it's
you are.
anecdotal.
Yes, you are.
Everyone has different experiences.
No.
You as an agnostic.
You're pretending not to understand. You're pretending not to understand.
That's an assumption, isn't it?
What's an assumption?
You are assuming.
No, I said anecdotal. Example, if you are a believer in God or you are a non-believer in God, you both have consciousness. Am I right?
All of us here have consciousness.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
No.
But he said he has empirical evidence for consciousness, and I want to know what that is, other than just your anecdotal feelings.
it's different in this case because
Why?
because you aren't like you can't
Let him answer.
listen you can't use
Let him answer.
an anecdote.
He has been trying hard, but he's still
I keep on telling you. I've told it to you 5 different times. Each time you either interrupt or you pretend not to understand.
I'll let you speak.
Each time you either
I'll let you answer.
Okay, I'll
and
answer.
you told
then.
me at the end of the day, what I realized is that
I told you that the difference. I told you
it's your own feelings.
No, I told you that the difference is using your sensation to try and find out between something that's internal to you, i.e. your conscious, your inner headspace. That's different from using your sensations or your thoughts to find out about something external to you,
How is
the
that
real world.
how is that telling you that you're conscious?
You can't use...
How are you going to prove to anyone?
Inside you.
How are you going to prove to a scientist that you have consciousness? Are you going to tell him?
I can't prove to anyone else.
Allow me to finish. Are you going
That's
to
the
tell?
point. I can't prove to anyone else that I'm conscious, but I can't prove it to myself.
Then how is it empirical?
You're just wasting time.
You see what I mean? He has realized that he cannot prove it to anyone, and then he says he calls it empirical. Go and learn the definition of
That's
empirical.
not what it means, though. That's different.
I think we have done. We are done here. We're going round in circles.
You're pretending not to know the difference between finding out something internal and finding out something external.
He doesn't have the.
If you're examining something internal to yourself, then you can use your thought process.
So you cannot prove to anyone that you have consciousness. Am I right?
That's true.
Good.
Yes.
So if you cannot prove to someone that you even have consciousness, how are you going to prove to anyone that even God exists? And you keep asking us to prove to us God exists.
The
guy cannot even
I ask you for evidence. I ask you for reason. I don't ask for proof. I ask for any evidence, any reason. I ask for any evidence. I don't ask you for proof God exists. I ask you for any evidence, any reason. No, I ask you for any evidence, any reason. Yes, evidence is not the same thing as proof, is it?
So what does empirical evidence mean?
Empirical evidence means some sort of evidence. Okay, let's define one. Evidence. Evidence is anything.
No, empirical evidence. Give me the definition of empirical evidence. Why laughing?
Because I need to define both the words. You asked for 2 words. I'm going to define both of them.
No problem.
One, evidence. Evidence is anything that, if it is the case, makes something else more likely to be true.
Okay.
So it's something where, like, A is evidence of B if probability of B given A is higher than probability of B. That's evidence.
So if you cannot give evidence,
and
that means...
empirical evidence is anything of that does that fills that requirement, which is also something that you experience in some way.
Only experience?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're telling me if you cannot define B...
If it's, the difference would be something purely logical, that wouldn't be empirical evidence.
Okay, so
I know, logical evidence you might say.
If B exists, and you cannot give a definition or prove empirically that B exists, is it possible for B to exist?
If you can't prove something, if you cannot prove that B is true...
No, not true. Even of its existence.
Okay, if you cannot prove that B exists, is it possible that B exists?
Yes. So, if you cannot prove God, that means God exists.
No.
You see the double standards?
No.
You see the double standards? Oh my God.
You don't even understand logic. What you just said to me is... What you just said to me is that if you cannot prove that B exists,
yes,
is it possible that B exists?
Yes.
And the answer is yes.
Yes. So
but that doesn't mean that God B necessarily exists. It might or might not exist.
Okay, so now you're using the term necessarily, but it still exists, right? So you're saying, if you cannot prove B, I told you, I asked you very clearly, if you cannot prove that B exists, yes, then it is possible for it to exist, based on your statement, right?
Yes.
Right. So, but does it necessarily exist?
No.
No. Does your
it might exist, it might not exist.
Wait a minute.
Just because you cannot listen.
Now you're using double standards.
Let me simplify.
It can exist, cannot exist. You see what happens? If you cannot even prove empirically...
Please let me simplify it for you. Just because you cannot prove that something exists does not mean that it doesn't exist.
Okay.
That's self-explanatory. It's quite simple.
So what, in other words, does your consciousness exist?
Does my consciousness exist? Yes. I'm certain of it. I have direct evidence of it. I have direct access to it.
But you said you cannot define it, so you cannot give evidence for it.
I can't prove it to someone else, no.
So how do you know your consciousness exists?
You do not know for certain that
How do you know consciousness exists if you cannot prove it to us?
No, I know that. I know it for myself. I can prove it to myself. I just can't prove it to you.
If you can prove it to yourself, why can't you prove it to us?
Because you don't have direct access to my brain. You don't have direct access to the experience and the evidence.
I can connect you to certain machines where can you have access to your brain.
What?
I can connect you to certain machines where can you have access to your brain to see those neurons firing, those electromagnetic pulses firing.
In the future, that's a possibility. You might be able to find out.
Not in the future. Now it's possible.
No, we don't.
They can see your brain, certain part of your brain highlighting depending on certain drugs or certain actions you take. Yes.
Okay, but now even that would only be evidence. It wouldn't be proof.
Okay, so it's not proof of consciousness.
No, it wouldn't be proof. Let me explain why. So yes, we can look on brain monitors and see parts of the brain lighting up in certain patterns, which kind of through lots of different experiments we observe this person is conscious when their brain lights up in this way, and when this person,
what do you mean conscious?
As in awake.
How do you know the person might be in a vegetative state and you give them a certain drug and their brain lights up? Does it mean they're awake?
We don't know for certain. That's why I'm saying it's not proof.
Look,
that's why I'm saying it's not proof. It's only evidence.
So in other words, you basically are telling me the only one that you can actually convince that you have consciousness is yourself.
Yes. Yeah, that's true for you as well. That's true for everyone.
So what happened to your definition of of be existing or not existing based on empirical evidence?
Because I have access to the empirical evidence. That's what I've been trying to tell you. Because my consciousness is within my internal world, like my brain, which I have direct access to.
So is it something that is observable? Is it something that we can prove it in a laboratory? Is it something that we can actually measure in a laboratory?
For other people, that would be difficult. But
so
for me,
how do we know you're even telling the truth then?
You don't
it has to come down to you.
That's what I've said. You don't know for.
So in other words, it comes down to you as an individual to say whether something exists or not. Then what is
the same for you as well. You know that you are conscious.
James,
you don't know for certain that I'm conscious.
What is stopping some individual telling them that they believe in a certain God who looks like an elephant? Because
that's a totally different question.
No, it's
Why
not.
are you asking that?
It's not because they believe.
Maybe I misunderstood. Could you repeat the question?
Just like you can convince yourself, only yourself and nobody else, that you have consciousness, they have convinced themselves that God looks like an elephant.
Okay.
Okay? So, who is right from the two of you?
Okay, the difference is, my claim is about something internal to myself. It's a claim about my internal world, we could call it, my mind, my brain. Whereas the other person is making a claim about something external to themselves. He's making a claim
How do you know it's external?
He's making a claim
he believes that God is within him. How do you know it's external?
Listen, he's making a claim about, okay, if you want to take it in that direction, he might believe that God is some sort of elephant-shaped thing which resides inside him and also created the entire world. So he's still making a claim about something external to him, i.e. the entire world.
No, but I didn't say anything about the external world. I never said that.
No, but
I gave you a hypothetical situation. Just like you said, we can use hypothesis.
A God means a creator, right?
Sorry?
A God means a creator.
For him,
right?
It might mean a different thing.
Okay, but
it might be someone who protects him.
If that's him,
it might be someone who protects him.
Okay, what specifically does he mean then? What is he meaning when he says his words?
Wait. You know why you're asking all these questions?
Because I need to know yours. You need ambiguous questions.
No. You know why? Shall I tell you, James?
Define your terms.
James, shall I tell you why?
No.
Because you
define your terms.
No, because you want to get to the truth of the matter. You want to be convinced. Wait. You want to be convinced of his worldview, whether it's true or not. Right? So just like you have convinced yourself, he has convinced himself, and there shouldn't be any more questions.
No, he's making a claim about something external to himself. I've explained this so many times, and you just are refusing to understand or pretending.
No, I'm not.
You're pretending not to understand, or you're hoping that the audience.
Because anyone who uses the term empirical evidence,
then maybe they'll just brush over.
He should be able.
How many times has this conversation gone around in a circle?
So you're saying,
you just pretend you don't understand.
So James, you're telling me if something is of empirical evidence, you cannot convince other people.
It depends on the empirical evidence.
That's what I'm telling you. Empirical evidence is something that should convince everyone.
You didn't hear. It depends on the type of empirical evidence.
So how many types on it?
Well, for one, we could talk about internal empirical evidence. Empirical evidence that you only experience yourself inside your internal world, your brain, your mind.
Who defines that as empirical evidence?
Or
who defines that as empirical evidence? Let's look at the definition of empirical evidence.
That's external.
I think he's just been waffling all this time.
Well, if you want.
Let's see the definition of empirical evidence. Whether it implies to just personal feelings.
Something that you experience.
Just personal feelings.
That's not exactly what I said, by the way.